Brooks and Dunn is saying goodbye, and not the kind you expect from a farewell tour. After Ronnie Dunn's deeply concerning diagnosis became public, fans have been on edge, especially after a heart-wrenching moment during their Indianapolis concert. For a while now, Dunn has been facing serious health issues. But even in the face of adversity, Brooks and Dunn has continued to hold their place in the heart of country music. And now comes the part that'll give you goosebumps. Because as painful as this goodbye is, there's something almost poetic about how they're choosing to exit. With honesty, with quiet strength. Stick with me, you'll want to hear Ronnie's final words to fans, because when he says them, it's like the music stops. Let's dive in. So, what really happened in Indianapolis? It's April 3, 2025. The Gainbridge Fieldhouse is electric. Fans flood the venue, riding waves of nostalgia, ready to two-step their way through a night of hits, cowboy hats, and pure Brooks and Dunn energy. You could feel the magic. Their music doesn't just play, it transports you. The lights, the crowd, that unmistakable hum of anticipation. It had all the markings of a classic Brooks and Dunn show, until something shifted. And no one, I mean no one, saw it coming. Now, let's talk about that moment. The one everyone's been reposting, dissecting, and reliving on TikTok and beyond. It came during the encore, the moment that's supposed to be pure celebration. They launched into Boot Scootin' Boogie, you know, the unofficial national anthem of line dancing, and the place lit up. After years away, the duo had returned to the road, and this was a major highlight stop. Phones were out, voices were raised, that beat dropped, and then, Ronnie Dunn. Yes, the Ronnie Dunn. Right in the middle of the song, he steps back from the mic and tells the crowd, sing it if you know it. At first, it felt like a crowd-pleasing moment. Classic stage banter, right? But then he turned to kicks. A small gesture, a hand across his chest, a tap, and then, that look, a quiet mix of exhaustion and something else, something final. He nodded slowly, almost apologetically. And then, he waved goodbye. No big speech, no spotlight exit, just walked off stage. Mid-song, mid-magic, just like that. So what if I told you one of country music's most iconic duos is stepping off the stage? For good. And it's not just a career choice, it's something much deeper. Is this really the end of Brooks and Dunn? Or is there more to the story? Keep listening, because what Ronnie shares at the end will stay with you. Now, if you were paying attention earlier that night, and some die-hard fans definitely were, there were signs. Subtle ones. But they were there. During Rock My World, Little Country Girl, Ronnie actually sat down mid-song. That's not typical for him. This is the same guy who could light up an entire arena just by walking to center stage, even into his 60s. But that night, he looked worn down. Not just tired, drained, like his soul needed rest. Fans noticed. One even tweeted, Ronnie looked winded tonight. That's not like him. His legendary voice, usually a freight train of power and emotion, cracked on a few high notes. And when that happens, you feel it. Of course, in true country fashion, the show went on. Kix Brooks, ever the professional, didn't miss a beat. As Ronnie slipped into the shadows, Kix stepped up, holding the crowd and carrying the moment. That's the mark of a brotherhood built over decades. Can you imagine the weight of that moment? But Kix didn't hesitate. He carried it, all the way to the final chord. That's more than showmanship, that's love. Naturally, the moment blew up online. Speculation caught fire. Questions flooded in. Is Ronnie Dunn sick? Is this it for Brooks and Dunn? What's really going on? And honestly, who can blame fans for asking? Ronnie Dunn isn't just a performer. He's the voice that's been there through breakups, road trips, and barbecues. His songs are stitched into people's memories. So when USA Today finally got a statement, fans were desperate for clarity. The rep's words gave some comfort. But for those who were there, or watched the clip, it was clear. This wasn't just a cold. This wasn't something he could sleep off. That kind of fatigue, it's the kind that takes more than time to fix. And though Ronnie pushed through the next scheduled performance, the doubts linger. Are we watching the curtain fall on one of country's most legendary acts? One moment you're singing along to My Maria, and the next, you're watching your hero quietly step away like he's got nothing left to give. And that kind of vulnerability, raw, unspoken, it hits different. Especially coming from Ronnie Dunn, always the stoic, strong stage presence. That night, his goodbye felt deeply personal. Like watching someone you love admit, they just can't do it anymore. And you respect it, but you also feel it. Deep. And now, the concern around Ronnie's health isn't just whisper level anymore. It's loud, it's growing. People aren't just checking the next tour stop, they're asking the hard question, should there even be a next show? Because sure, fans love the music, but they love Ronnie more. No one wants to see a legend burn himself out just to keep the curtain up a little longer. We've seen it before, artists pushing past their limits until there's nothing left. But maybe, just maybe, this is the start of a different kind of ending. One marked not by exhaustion, but by peace. A bow taken with pride, knowing the legacy is already untouchable. And no matter what happens next, this moment, this raw, unscripted, real moment, will stick. Not because Ronnie walked away, but because he reminded us, even legends are human. And that's okay. Because sometimes, the most unforgettable performance is the one where someone says, I can't. And the music still rises. Held up by a brother beside him, and the roar of a crowd that just gets it. So yes, that night began with boots scooting across the stage, and ended with a silence that spoke volumes. But it also ended with something rare, honor, brotherhood, and a dose of real-life humanity we didn't expect. And really, isn't that what country music's always been about? Behind the lights, the glitter, the crowds, there's been a storm brewing for Ronnie. A storm he's been facing quietly for months. And let me tell you, it's been a lot. Like, a lot. You know when life just keeps throwing punches? That's been Ronnie's 2025. And keep in mind, the man's 71. Bouncing back from setbacks like this. It's no small feat. Let's rewind to early March. That's when everything really hit the fan. Ronnie didn't just get sick, he got walloped. A 1-2 punch, COVID and strep throat. At the same time, can you even imagine? That's not soup and rest, sick. That's stay in bed for weeks and pray, sick. Doctors had him on antibiotics, steroids, the works. But the infection hit his lungs hard, and it wasn't going away quickly. Even as March came to a close, he was still struggling to breathe like he used to. In an interview with Country Music Weekly, Ronnie didn't sugarcoat it. I'm still fighting some respiratory issues from COVID, he admitted. And you could just feel the frustration in his voice, like he was itching to get back to normal, but his body wouldn't let him. But wait, that's not even the full story. Just a few months before the virus, back in December 2024, Ronnie had undergone knee replacement surgery. Why? Because of a freak skiing accident at his vacation home in Colorado. Yep, he hit a patch of ice and tore his ACL. Of course he did, because apparently, this man lives like a country music superhero. That injury sidelined him for weeks. Major surgery, rehab, limited movement. But Ronnie, he's old school, cowboy tough, and determined not to let anything, not even a brand new knee, stop the Reboot 2 tour. He kept going, performing while rehabbing. Fans started noticing how he leaned more on one leg, using stage rises as a brace. He wasn't moving like before, but he was there, giving it what he had. Now, all of these hits, illness, surgery, stress, they've taken a toll. Especially on that voice. You know the one, that deep, unmistakable, whiskey smooth tone that could carry a song straight through your chest. But recently, it's different. Vocal coaches and fans alike have noticed the change. His breathing's shallower, he's shortening the long notes. And you can hear it, especially in ballads like Neon Moon or My Maria. The strain is there. Backstage, his team's been working overtime, tweaking song arrangements, adjusting mixes to lighten the load on his voice. Because at this point, it's not about perfection. It's about preservation. And who could blame him? COVID, strep, a shredded ACL. All in a few months. That would flatten a younger artist, let alone someone in their 70s. So naturally, fans started asking the tough questions. Is Ronnie Dunn sick? Really sick? And what does this mean for the future of Brooks and Dunn? Music insiders are already whispering. You know how it is. They're wondering if all of this is leading to something bigger. A pause. Or maybe, a permanent goodbye. And honestly, it's not an unfair question. How much can one man give before he's given everything? But here's the part that'll stop you in your tracks. Through all of this, every ache, every setback, Ronnie hasn't played the victim. He hasn't asked for sympathy. No social media sob stories. No press tours fishing for pity. He's just shown up, quietly, stubbornly, like a true cowboy, still trying to give fans the music they love. And there's something profoundly beautiful about that. Because even with a body screaming for rest, Ronnie Dunn still wants to be there for the people who've been there for him. For decades. So when news of his health struggle, and possible diagnosis, finally hit the public, fans were floored. Could this be the reason behind the farewell? And what are fans doing now that's caught everyone's attention? If you think you've heard it all, hang on. Because behind the scenes, something remarkable is happening. When Ronnie quietly exited the stage in Indy, it was more than a concert moment. It was like the whole country music world just paused, and every eye turned to him. 1 second he was singing. The next, he was signaling the band, something's wrong. Then, he was gone. Moments like that don't fade. They ignite, and in today's world, they go viral, fast. But here's what made this moment different. It wasn't chaos. It wasn't drama. It was love. Fans didn't pile on with gossip. They flooded social media with support. Brooks and Dunn's official Instagram turned into a digital prayer circle. It was post after post of kindness. Sending healing, we love you, Ronnie, praying for your recovery. Not just once, not just twice, hundreds, thousands. And then came the longer messages. The heartfelt ones. The ones that made people stop scrolling and just feel something. Ronnie, your music carried me through the hardest year of my life. Please take care of yourself. You gave us your best for 30 years. We'll be here if you need to rest. That kind of outpouring, it doesn't come for everyone. But it came for Ronnie Dunn. This wasn't just about a concert moment. It was about real human connection. Because people don't just know of Ronnie Dunn, they feel like they know him. He's been with them for years, through the good and the bad, the breakups and makeups, the joy and the healing. So when something goes wrong, it hurts. On a personal level. And this is where things start getting even more emotional. Because fans who were actually there in Indianapolis started chiming in with their own stories. Some talked about how amazing the show was, even though they sensed something wasn't quite right with Ronnie. One fan wrote, "You guys were awesome last night in Indy. My first time seeing y'all, and definitely a dream well met. It looked like you were sick near the end though. I hope you get better soon." That's not just fandom, that's love. That's appreciation wrapped in concern. And it wasn't just a few people. The comments kept rolling in, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, echoing the same message. Deep respect, deep worry, and a whole lot of gratitude. It was a reminder. Fans aren't just connected to the music. They're connected to the men behind it. To the heart behind the hits. Now, if you thought Instagram was buzzing, TikTok exploded. One of the most viral clips came from radio host Matt Malone, who shared a now famous video of Ronnie's quiet, emotional exit. You can see it. Ronnie steps back, tells the crowd, "Sing it if you know it," then gestures to his guitarist like, "You've got this. I'm done." That video racked up over 86,000 likes and instantly became the central hub for every Ronnie Dunn update that followed. And just imagine being in that crowd. 1 minute you're cheering, the next you're watching your hero silently bow out mid-song. It's the kind of moment that stays with you. What made it even more heartbreaking were the details. Ronnie tapping his chest, giving a small wave, and walking away without drama. Just gone, quiet, dignified, almost like he didn't want to worry anyone. But of course, that only made people worry more. Another TikTok surfaced showing Ronnie earlier in the show, sitting on the edge of the stage, visibly uncomfortable. His posture, his movement, something was off. And before you knew it, TikTok had become a virtual support group. Hashtags like #pray for Ronnie, #Brooks and Dunn forever, and #Ronnie Strong started popping up everywhere. Fans shared their theories, their fears, and their encouragement. But thankfully, it wasn't all doom and gloom. In the midst of all the concern, hope started to flicker. Fans began sharing updates from later shows. One person posted, "He played Peoria the next night and absolutely crushed it. He's fine." And honestly, that one reassuring comment probably pulled thousands of fans back from panic mode. Isn't it crazy how one little piece of good news can completely shift the energy of an entire conversation? Still, the rumors didn't stop. People online started jumping to wild conclusions. Did Brooks and Dunn die? Some headlines even asked. Dramatic? Yes. But it shows how deep the worry ran. Others were asking, is this the end? Or, is Ronnie saying goodbye? Fans were going there, because at the core of all that speculation was something very real, concern. Not for a show, not for a ticket, but for a person. And maybe that's the most powerful takeaway. Ronnie Dunn isn't just a name on a concert poster. He's someone people have lived their lives with. His voice has been there for weddings, heartbreaks, late-night drives, and backyard beers. So when something doesn't feel right, even for a few minutes, it sends ripples. Big ones. But those ripples, they weren't filled with noise or chaos. They were filled with love. with loyalty, with real emotion, the kind that makes someone stop scrolling just to comment, to share a memory, or simply to say, "I hope he's okay." Because Ronnie Dunn means that much to people. Maybe it was just a bad night. Maybe it was exhaustion, or the tail end of an illness. But whatever it was, the outpouring of love from fans proved one thing beyond a doubt: Ronnie Dunn will never walk alone. So, what's next for Brooks and Dunn? By now, you've probably seen the headlines. Brooks and Dunn say goodbye after Ronnie's tragic diagnosis. That kind of headline hits you like a gut punch. People started panicking, thinking it was the end for one of country music's most iconic duos. And you know what? That fear was totally understandable. Because when someone's been part of your life soundtrack for decades, the thought of them stepping away feels personal. But before we all spiral, let's just take a breath. Because, good news, the real story. It's not as dark as it first seemed. In fact, it's strangely comforting, even inspiring. So here's what really happened. After that Indianapolis show, Ronnie wasn't doing great. Fans noticed. His energy was low, his voice wasn't quite landing like usual. And then, he walked off. And when someone that consistent suddenly steps away, of course people assume the worst. But thankfully, the reassurance came quickly. And bless their publicist for it, because we needed that clarity. Fast. They confirmed that Ronnie had been dealing with respiratory issues, but nothing life-threatening. He just needed rest. And rest, finally, is what he's getting. The moment that statement hit the press, it felt like the whole fandom exhaled. Like 1,000 people were holding their breath, and finally let it out. It reminded us of something we tend to forget. Even the strongest voices sometimes need a break. And that's not weakness. That's human. Apparently, after some much-needed downtime and treatment, Ronnie's bouncing back. The doctors are pleased with his recovery, and more importantly, the man himself is feeling better. Is he still on the mend? Sure, but is this some tragic final curtain call? Absolutely not. We forget sometimes that even legends are human. These guys have been grinding for nearly 40 years. 40, that's a whole lifetime for some fans. Isn't it kind of amazing that they're still doing it? And the best part, the tour isn't going anywhere. The Reboot 2 tour, the one lighting up cities across North America, is still rolling strong. No cancellations, no tabloid drama, just two country icons making a few smart adjustments and keeping the music alive. The tour is locked in through November 2025, which is a huge sigh of relief for fans who've been waiting to catch them live. Can you imagine the heartbreak if they pulled the plug? But no, they're not going out like that. And let's be honest, Brooks and Dunn were never the kind to let a bump in the road slow them down. They've weathered bigger storms. This is just a deep breath before the next chorus. Behind the scenes, they've made thoughtful changes to protect Ronnie's health while still delivering the kind of show fans expect. Some set lists have been trimmed slightly, not enough to miss the classics, just enough to give Ronnie room to breathe. Extra backup vocalists are now stepping in, adding depth and richness to the harmonies. And staging, it's more accommodating now, allowing Ronnie moments to rest between the high-energy bangers. These may seem like small tweaks, but they speak volumes. Not just about performance quality, but about care. About brotherhood. About the kind of bond we all wish we had with someone. And you know what? This whole chapter just makes you admire them even more. Instead of hiding it, pretending nothing's wrong, they faced it head on. They made space for healing, reassured their fans, adapted, and kept going. That's not just professionalism, that's heart. That's a legacy not just built on hits and chart toppers, but on resilience, transparency, and a relentless love for what they do. So yes, if you were holding your breath, thinking Brooks and Dunn were saying goodbye forever, go ahead and exhale. Ronnie's okay, he's healing, and the tour, oh, it's still boots on, spotlight on, guitars blazing. This isn't goodbye, it's just a pause, and when they come back full throttle, it's going to hit even harder. Because if there's one thing Brooks and Dunn have always promised, it's a damn good show. No matter what. So, what did happen to Brooks and Dunn? 1 minute, they're lighting up the stage. The next, fans are in tears over Ronnie's sudden exit, whispering about a tragic diagnosis and fearing the end. But before you assume it's all over, stay with me. Because what's next for them? It might just surprise you, in the best possible way. The future of Brooks and Dunn. You'd think that after decades in the country music game, literal decades of hits, tours, and accolades, these two might be ready to slow down. You know, buy a ranch in Montana, sip whiskey on a porch somewhere, and call it a day. But, not even close. Word from trusted industry insiders. Brooks and Dunn are not hanging up their hats. In fact, they just renewed their recording contract. Yeah, they're doubling down on the very thing that made them icons in the first place, the music. Now, let's talk Ronnie Dunn. His name's been buzzing lately, and not for the happiest reasons. Fans have been asking, is Ronnie sick? And yes, the rumors have truth behind them. He's had a tough few months. But the part that really hits you, he's still showing up, still singing, still giving everything he's got. An insider close to the duo put it simply, Ronnie just needs to pace himself. And at 71, that makes perfect sense. Performing night after night, that's a grind, no matter how many gold records you've got on your wall. But despite it all, they're not stopping. All those swirling farewell rumors, totally unfounded. Maybe people got spooked by what happened in Indianapolis. And sure, that moment was a wake-up call. It reminded us that even legends have limits. That standing under hot stage lights in front of thousands of fans isn't as effortless as it once was. But neither Ronnie nor Kix is ready to say goodbye. They're just being smarter now. Less burnout, more balance. Less hustle, more harmony. And let's be honest, can you really blame Ronnie for not wanting to let his fans down? That kind of loyalty, it's rare. He could easily step back, and people would still love him just the same. But no, he keeps showing up, keeps giving, even when his body says, hey, maybe take it easy. That's not just commitment, that's love. That's the kind of heart that's carried Brooks and Dunn from the boot scootin' boogie days to now. So, what's next? More music, more shows, more moments that become memories. Just maybe at a gentler pace, and honestly, that's not just okay, it's admirable, because who says legends have to go out with one last bang? Maybe they just keep going, one song at a time, one city at a time, one encore at a time. Not because they have to, but because they still want to. And fans, they'll be right there, singing along, cheering louder than ever. With that, we've come to the end of this story. Thanks so much for watching. If you felt something from this video, whether it was nostalgia, concern, or just straight up admiration, go ahead and hit that like, comment, and subscribe. It helps keep stories like these alive. And if you're in the mood for more country legends, click the next video that just popped up on your screen. You won't want to miss it.